That should be. So, welcome to today's coaching clinic and creating a new chapter. I think this topic is at the heart and soul of many of us right now, and it certainly is what is calling me forward. So I thought it would be good to begin to just share with you very simply and helpfully just ways that we can begin to create a new chapter in our lives, especially when it looks like nothing's going to change, nothing's ever changing, when it looks like the world is a completely different place than what it was. So things might look harder or just more limited. There's a lot of conversation available for why now wouldn't be a good time to create a new chapter. But I'm going to go against the grain with that and remind you on today's clinic of the power that you hold within you that is not of you. And that power craves change. That power is not interested in you living in habitual thoughts of lack, sadness, worry, frustration, depression. That power is an unlimited power that is the same power that turns little flowers in the direction of the sunlight. It's the same power that turns the acorns into the oak trees. And it's interested in expressing through you. You're the vehicle. We are the vehicles. And unfortunately, we can tend to forget that and assume that we are all there is. And as we fall into believing that story, we then wonder why life gets hard. So I want to start with a prayer today that really supports all of us. And it's by Marianne Williamson. And I just love her stuff because she's not overly, religious. she's into spirit and source and God in a way that is grounded and practical. So I want to start with this, and I will do a guided visualization with you today to help you connect with this new chapter. And I want to hear from you today. I want to be of service and helpful today. And then I want to share with you a couple of things that are coming up. So to begin with, let's just close our eyes for a moment and just listen to this, because it's such a beautiful reminder. And I think for all of us in the direction of a new chapter, it's something that supports our desire for that. So rather than try and grasp the words, I just want you to get in the habit of closing your eyes and listening for a feeling or an insight or a clarity as you engage this with me. Dear God, in this one moment, I recognize that there is within me a perfect self, a self that is not dysfunctional, a self that is not weak but strong, that is not limited but unlimited, that is not small but huge, that is not in pain but is in peace, that is not faithless and scared but is all-knowing, all-loving, serene and calm through the grace of God. I've been playing with the toys of death and weakness. I've been playing with the toys of sickness and depression. I've been playing at addiction. I've been playing at dysfunction, limitation, and war. I've been playing at hunger and violation of myself and others. I have been playing with toys that are dangerous. But as I desire to play the games of death no more, in this moment, Lord, I ask you to release me from my destructive thinking. Take me up now to the mantle of your magnificence through your grace. I am good and innocent and strong and pure, for thus would you have me be. The love that emanates from your mind to me and from my mind to the minds of others is a power so great. Within its embrace, all negativity shall turn to good, and all pain to peace, and all fear to love. I invoke your light. I receive your heaven, which replaces hell. I do not look back. I do not stop my eyes at the veil of horror that surrounds this world, but rather I extend my vision to the possibilities for love for myself and others at all times. I step out of my childhood and into my adulthood, out of my weaknesses into my strengths, out of my fear and into my love, and out of my small self into you. Please make me new. Amen. There's just so much beauty in those words. And I think we can all resonate with what begins to happen in our lives when we are relying solely on ourselves. The dysfunctional self, the self that's afraid, the self that plays games of sickness and weakness and smallness. And we come together like this as a group, knowing that we're interested in the bigger self, the self with a capital S, the self that is all-knowing and all-powerful. And some of you will connect with the word God and some of you won't. Don't let the language get in the way of what's true in you. That's that spirit within you. And that's what a new chapter really is. It's an invitation to let go of being so self-reliant. It's an invitation to explore a whole new way of being and living and behaving in this world that you may not have even contemplated in all your lifetime thus far. But I want you to know today that you're not stuck. You're a changeable being. And the more that you allow yourself to rely on this all-knowing, all-giving power that wants the best for you, that is expressing through you, that is breathing you right now, that is looking through your eyes at me. That very consciousness that is the bigger you can change in an instant. And that's the beauty of being human rather than having come in a different form. We have come in with this possibility to grow and evolve and create anew. Our job is to not get stuck on, oh, this is how it is, because this is how it's always been. Our job is not to get into listening to Bob the drunk guy with his limitations and the gun to your head about why you're out of time and it's too late for you, why it could never be possible for you because of such and such a problem or such and such a loss or such and such a situation. So I really invite you today to consider that creating a new chapter is calling you, whether you're conscious of it or not. You showed up right now. Creating a new chapter begins with leaning less on you and leaning into that bigger part of you, that piece of you that is craving the change, that is designing the chapter. And how do we know what it is? How do we know what is next? Well, it's as simple as this. We get desires, the word desire coming from the Latin desidere, which means from the Father, from God. We get desires. And when we're not judging the desires we get, when we're not intellectualizing them, when we follow them, we begin to create a new world for ourselves. And all of you will have examples of this in your life. You know, some of our desires are big and they create big change and big new chapters. And some of our desires are smaller and they create gentle new waves of possibility and change. But all of you have been hearing the desires and acting on the desires in your lifetime, because it's how this spiritual force works through us and creates through us. In my own life, one of the big desires was to get out of my day job, to stop living life exhausted as a school teacher. And I had no other idea what else I could do for a living. As far as I was concerned, since I was 8, I wanted to be a teacher. And that to me just looked like a school. But that desire, it wouldn't leave me alone. So I was a school teacher for about 6 years. And I would go to work every day and I would be in a pretty blah environment. And the desire would keep coming about doing something else. Now, one thing I didn't do was say to myself, well, there's nothing else I could do. I'm stuck. What I noticed myself doing was I noticed myself getting educated. So I would go to work during the day, and in the evening, I would go into London City and I would take part in seminars. I would show up at events. I would start to learn. And eventually a teacher appeared in front of me who inspired me beyond any level of inspiration I could have found for myself at that time. And suddenly I was then surrounded by people in a community who were all working for themselves. No coincidence. So that desire continued, and I got out of my job, and then I still didn't know what to do. But I'd fulfilled the first step. I'd made the leap out. And what I noticed arising next in me after about 6 or 8 or 9 months of floating about on a high from no longer going to a day job, what I noticed arose next in me was, this is lovely, but I want to be of service. This is very nice hanging out on the beach in Italy, but I want to help people. I want to be of service. And that then fueled some more education and finding myself around a new community of people who called themselves coaches. Now, that's just a little bit of how the system works. In your own life, you may have had desires for marriage. You may have had desires for a baby. You may have had desires for a business. You may have had desires for losing weight and getting really fit. The content doesn't matter. What you want to keep in mind is that this divine mind this point of change comes through a gentle, not going away desire that calls you, that inspires you, that taps you. You naturally, whether you're conscious of it or not, have your vision there. It's what you see for yourself. One of the things that I ask in my passion process when I sit down with clients is, what are the visions you see in your mind's eye over and over and over again? And it takes people a bit of time to, I'm not sure, we live in this quagmire of confusion. But when we get really present and we fall out of the insecure thinking, we fall out of the fog, we fall out of the weakness and the toys of death, as Marianne calls it, we know exactly what we want next. And another little simple way of discovering, apart from the desire that fuels you, is it's generally the opposite to what you're experiencing right now. It's generally the way that you're living and working right now. There's something in you that wants either the opposite of that or the evolution of that. So those are two simple ways just to begin to explore for yourself how to begin the next chapter, how to begin to carve out your next chapter. Noticing the desires of your heart that, remember, come from desidere, from the Father. And knowing where you're currently feeling frustrated, annoyed, wanting change, the opposite, you're wanting the opposite to what you currently are experiencing. These are two very solid ways to begin to explore. And I encourage you, take pen and paper and begin to sit down and make the space where you can get into conversation with your desires. You can get into conversation with what's really, not doing it for you, and what would the opposite look like? What would it be if it was the opposite? This isn't about willpower. I really want you to hear that. Willpower suggests that you need to go out and make the change happen. I don't have enough willpower to even say no to a nice pair of earrings, never mind going out to make a major life change. This isn't about willpower. See, you only need willpower when you're actually not inspired and you're not following your true desire. You only need willpower. Sorry, there's someone at my door. You only need willpower when you are in that state. You do not need willpower when you're in any other place, because you work from desire. Desire releases the need for any level of willpower, because when you're following a true desire, a true objective, another word for this is a highest value, okay, a true passion. When you're following that, what happens is you're naturally motivated. No one has to get you out of bed in the morning. No one has to get you juiced up and fired up to get your stuff done. What many people find, and it's totally normal until you wake up to it and you stop it, but what many people find they're doing in their life is they're so innocently living to do things that aren't that desirable to them, that they have to push through and effort through and motivate their way to reaching their objective. And some people just don't have an objective in mind because the mind is so noisy. The mind has been so busy, so weighed down with worry, stress, anxiety, fear, whatever, that there's not a level of clarity on the direction. That's why I encourage you always get quiet, create space, move yourself, shift yourself, do whatever you need to do to awaken what's next for you. Always, always, always inviting your bigger self into the conversation, rather than sitting down with pen and paper and just talking from your repeated habitual thoughts about yourself. You can really tell the difference between a clarity that's coming from an insight that's given to you from beyond you versus a clarity that's coming from what you think you should do. This is why I love sitting down with people and helping them access the divine mind that has something for you that's fresh and new. Not same old, yeah, I've been thinking about that, but I haven't gotten around to it. We don't get around to things that are not true inspirations. We want to create space. We want to make space to hear divine mind, divine love, whatever you want to call it, our true spiritual essence and what they've got, it's got for you. And sometimes, like in the case of leaving my job, it's loud and it's not going away and there's no missing it. But in life, it's not always that size of a desire, that level of an objective. Sometimes it's quieter and it's a little lower in momentum, but it's still going to elicit change for you. It's still going to move you, shift you, live you, work through you, create a new chapter for you. So let me just pause at this point because I don't know what you're hearing in this, but does anybody have a question, a comment, a desire, a clarity, anything you want to bring up at this stage? And you can type in the box or you can just unmute your line. There might even be a hand section. Put your hand up, I'll be able to bring you on. Okay.
I have something.
Okay, who have I got? Charlene?
It's Charlene. Hi, Grace. Hi.
Hi, good to see you.
Hi. So it's so timely what you're saying, because I'm in the midst of scaling up my business and I'm feeling a little overwhelmed at the amount of stuff that I've got to do. Well, I get to do it. I don't know if that changing the wording changes how I feel particularly, But I do know that what you've said about being inspired to do things. So what landed for me is that I get to be in a space of bliss and pleasure, regardless. I get to choose that for myself. And I get to turn this to-do list and shift its place from being like my boss, like it's going to tell me what to do, to a space of something that I get to respond to, and I get to respond to and uphold my values of pleasure and rest, and still stay in full integrity, and not focusing so much on getting stuff done, but focusing more on the vision and how beautiful it feels to hold that vision for myself. It feels beautiful to take those steps, to take those action steps in alignment with what I say I want. That feels really powerful, as opposed to I need to get stuff done and then feeling overwhelmed. So that's what landed for me as I was listening to you.
That's beautiful. Can you feel the clarity in that for you?
Yeah. And you know, the things that I'm doing, it's all about data and funnels, and it's not like go and dance for 15 minutes. That's not on my to-do list. Maybe it should be, but I get to turn even those seemingly masculine things into something very pleasurable for me, because I know the vision, I know why I'm doing these things, and I know what I want to have at the end of it. But I know who I am in the present. I don't have to shift into hustle to get this stuff done. That's not in integrity for me. And I enjoy staying in integrity no matter what.
Lovely. Thank you, Charlene. That's a beautiful share. And it helps everybody. You know, what you see as individuals does help everybody. So, you know, it's always very generous of you to share. Don't be afraid, anybody, to share. And that word hustle, I'm glad you mentioned that, Charlene, because when you find yourself in that energy, you know you're not living inspired. Because when you're following your desire, when you're following that passion, really that highest passion, there isn't a feeling of hustle. I'm not saying that there's not work to be done, but it goes back to, you know, hustle requires willpower. And so all of us really want to be noticing the feeling we're in as we're doing things. Because as we notice the feeling we're in, we know where we're coming from. As you said, Charlene, integrity, following the highest passions and desires, or, you know, kind of efforting, willpowering, hustling. Now, in an ideal world, we can try and delegate the stuff that we're not inspired to do. But before you even go into that, I just want you today to hear that a new chapter begins with really knowing what that desire and that passion is. And following that is not something that you can make up. It is something that comes to you, that moves through you. And for anyone that's sitting here and feeling they don't know and they're lost and whatever, it requires you to get in connection with that bigger part of you. It requires you to create some space. It requires you to say no to a lot of perhaps habitual everyday action you're in, just being busy, or just making sure you're not letting other people down, just making sure that you're still getting approval. Like your next chapter is going to be born from hearing divine mind and going in that direction solidly. And guess what? No willpower needed. Guess what? Waking up every day feeling in integrity with what you're about to do. Guess what? More energy at the end of the day than when you started the day, because you're dedicating your day to things that really move you. Robin, did you want to ask a question or make a comment?
Yes, thank you, Grace. I just want to say it really hit me strongly when you said it's the opposite to what I'm expressing right now, or the opposite of, what I think I want to be doing. And I thought, really? Oh my goodness. I've been in this focused direction for years, as I sort of think you know. It's been energizing me. It's been pulling me along. It's been of huge interest, but it's never really come to fruition properly. It's never really happened properly. And that's got me questioning, well, I wonder if I really should be doing that. So what else?
Let me stop you there before you question. Just re-listen to the recording. I did not say it's the opposite to what you think you want to do.
Oh.
I said it's the desire that you have. You have a desire to be of service. It's not going away. It's consistent.
Right. Yes.
Right? If that wasn't a true desire, you'd have given up a long time ago, because you'd be saying, it's never happened, so I'm not going to bother. Right?
Yeah.
When I talk about the opposite, I mean, there are two ways for you to look at your next chapter. Hearing and seeing and being clear on the desire.
Mm-hmm.
And that is usually born from kind of the circumstances you find yourself in don't feel satisfying to you. So you naturally want the opposite. You want the evolution. You want the contrast. You want something more. Okay. Mm-hmm. So just re-listen to the beginning. It's not that I'm suggesting you're not on the right path. Okay. So tell me a little bit, Robin, about, you said it's not come to fruition. What do you see as should have come to fruition by now in an ideal world?
That I would be way more comfortable trying to make myself visible, to be talking to the people who I'd love to be talking to and helping. And my invisibility just seems to be what stops me all the time. There's times over the years I've had an inspired, I guess, idea and written it and posted it and got it out there, and it's just flowed through me, and it was wonderful. I didn't get any clients from any of those, but those were obviously coming from very different places. And then I haven't been inspired to be posting or even trying to do anything as outreach to get myself visible, to attract the clients to me who I could be working with. So I wonder why I keep stopping myself that way. I get ideas. I have, like group ideas to help when I hear of, some issue that people have, and I think, oh, I could help that, and I could do this and that. But I don't take that last step of making that out to the world so they even know about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, could you let yourself off the hook about not making it to the last step?
Sure, I guess I have in a way, but I haven't let it go totally, right? I still keep thinking there's something I want to be doing of service out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Focus
get
on that bit.
ideas.
Focus on that bit.
Focus on that bit. Okay.
That bit is the fuel and the force and the driver, the desire to be helping people. I hear a level of disappointment in self that I hear two things. One, a level of disappointment that I don't take the last step and I hold myself back is what I'm hearing.
Okay.
And I'm asking you to let yourself off the hook about that. You said it something like, I hope either I hold myself back or I'm afraid of being visible, or I'm invisible. I'm just asking you, as best you can, Robin, shift your focus over to, I'm still being moved in the direction of wanting to help people.
Right.
Wow. Even though in my time estimate and my expectation, it should be happening by now, and it's not. How cool is this, that without any results, client-wise, I'm still being moved to write posts here and there, to think about and visualize and see myself with people working in a new way. That's amazing. That's desidere. That's from the Father. That's beyond you. The second thing I hear is, I would question that it's about you being more visible. I would question that it's all on you to get yourself out there. In fact, this is where I would say, Robin, I wonder what would happen for you if you're a bit less self-reliant on attracting clients.
Right.
Like, I would love to see what comes to you from divine mind as a means to moving this forward. There's a wonderful line. I'm not really a Bible person myself, but there's a wonderful line I always remembered, which was, he who has started a good work in you will see it through to completion. And I'm wondering if you might get out of the way a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I've told myself that too, get myself out of the way. Yeah, okay.
Create space, Robin, for the next step around this, because the first step is being done through you. The desire to help, the desire to work in a new way, the desire, you show up, you take part in educational pieces. You've been equipping yourself because the spirit bigger than you is working through you. Don't let this lens of, well, it's not happened yet because I don't take the last step and I need more visibility, blah, blah, blah. That sounds like something some textbook marketing consultant has told you you have a problem with. No. You just want to get into creating the space, get in connection with Robin with a capital R. I'm ready to help people. Now let's get honest with ourselves, everybody. Remember, there has to be spaciousness in order to serve. If you are full mentally, physically, your day-to-day life is totally full, there's not a space, realistically, maybe for one client there might be, but there's not a realistic space for creating a whole book full of new opportunities, okay? So you want to just also be creating the space first for yourself to hear divine mind. What would you have me do? What's the next step? I'm ready for the service. Get honest with yourselves. Do you have space to serve? Or are you depleted? If you have space to serve, great. Green light, signal, all systems go. Get into connection, divine mind. What would you have me do? What's the next step to this? And, writing it out can be very helpful. Okay, whatever direction works for you. But you want to hear beyond your habitual thoughts about getting into service.
Yeah.
Is that okay, Robin?
That's fabulous, Grace. Thank you. Yes, that's really fresh perspectives and different angles to look at it from. And yeah, really helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, let me know how you go.
Sure. Thank you. You'll probably be the first to know.
Good. And it'll be my delight. Yeah, Beverly, I'll come to you now. It's really nice to hear when people have this desire to be of service, because what they don't realize innocently is that is the fuel. I'm never worried if it's like, oh, I can't reach clients. Oh, I don't know who my target market is. Oh, I don't know how much to charge. Those things are figure outable. If you don't have the desire to serve and be of service and to be helping people, then we have a real problem. Beverly.
Thank you, Grace. In hearing this desire to serve, what I also heard was optimism, because I'm embarking on lots of change in my life, and it's not a shopping list or a to-do list, more just things I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw your message today about change, I thought, that's calling me somehow. And in listening to you today, optimism is what's coming to my head. So I'm going to work with optimism going forward, because that will keep me going, that will get me out of bed, that will stop me going into the, oh my God, what am I going to do? Is this a good idea? Because I have this other thing that's saying, optimism, it's okay.
Yeah.
You can think positively about this.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's a little like change in perspective right there. You see how it just shifted for you, Beverly? You know, you show up, you follow your wisdom to show up. You show up, you hear something. I don't even use the word optimism, but you hear.
Exactly. Yes.
Right? This is what I mean, everybody, about clarity that comes from beyond your habitual thoughts. When a clarity comes like that, not only do you feel hopeful, and as Beverly says, there is an optimism that comes with that new level of clarity, but you also can trust it. You know, you don't have to wake up tomorrow morning, Beverly, and remember, oh, today I need to be optimistic.
Exactly.
Because you've heard it and seen it from divine mind, what you needed to hear and see. And therefore, the serum is in. Now, what we don't want to do is we don't want to let habitual, foggy, confused, low state thoughts dampen that. But we are all smart enough here to know when that's beginning to happen, when Bob the drunk is getting back into the house, into the room. Okay. So thank you for sharing that, Beverly.
Thanks, Grace.
Yeah, lovely to see you here. Amy, did you want to ask a question or make a comment?
Yes, I just wanted to share when you were just now talking to Beverly about feeling so, or maybe it was Robin, about when your mind is so full, you're so full of, thought or stress or resistance. I just really heard something in that for myself. The word emptiness kind of presented itself in my mind. And I realized the last few months as you know, I've been taking some time away from clients and away from teaching and wanting to shift the direction of my business and my work. And there's been a lot of worry inside of that because of course I'm not bringing in a lot of money. I'm not, so there's the insecure mind has been kind of whirling around that. But I also see how when you talk about divine mind and when you talk about us being moved, I'm starting to recognize, like in hindsight, I'll look back. And so I'm looking back on these past 3 months and seeing like even though I had the worries, it's been so nice and refreshing. And I'm so appreciative that I've been able to take this time, because I really see how I wasn't able to. I had no ability to serve from that place. Like, it was like the wall. I just hit a wall. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure the point I'm making, but I just feel grateful that, like, I've had these last 3 months to slow down and empty. The word emptiness is just really present for me right now in what you're saying.
I love that. Yeah, thank you for that, Amy. You know, this is an example of it's not important what you hear the teacher say, it's important what you hear for yourself.
Yeah.
So we're hearing, you know, what I'm noticing is, you know, all of you that are sharing are, and certainly those that are listening too, no doubt, are hearing what they need to hear. Now, how do you think that happens? Why on earth would we be so reliant on our little selves to hear, when there is something so much more powerful doing the hearing for us, giving us the words that we need to hear for the change that we need to make, for the direction of the chapter we want to go in? So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Thank you, Amy. Yeah. So just real quick before we come to a meditation, and if there's time, I'll also take Dorothy's question too, I think has her hand up. You know, this creating a new chapter is really, it's possible for all of you and all of us. Okay, it's not about your age. It's not about how much money is in your bank account. It's not about whether or not you have good health, or you have a partner, or you have whatever. And your thinking could get so low at times that you think that for you to have a next chapter, you either need to marry a millionaire or win the lottery. Okay? No. Change occurs in an instant. And for most of us, that's because our thinking can change in an instant. And having clarity that comes from divine mind, not the little mind, is a game changer. That's what I love helping people with. So if you're interested in having support around this area, if you're interested in having my help creating your new chapter, hearing what divine mind really has in store for you and for what's next, and then being supported through the process of that, you can get in touch, gracefulcoaching@gmail.com. There's a couple of ways to work together right now, includes an online possibility, and we will explore what you're needing. Within the next day or two, I'll be closing the one-off session offer. So if you just want a sort of a one-off laser session around this and around something you just want to focus on for practical purposes and clarity, that's available too. That closes on March 31st. After that, we'll be into traditional coaching packages versus one-off sessions. And there is, of course, the opportunity to join me. If you'd like to sit down with me in Mexico, you have the opportunity to join me on a retreat in Mexico, April 23rd and 24th. So do get in touch if you know that your next chapter is something that really you'd like help with, and you just would like to explore a way to do that. All right. I will come into the meditation now. I think it would be important for us to close on the meditation where you're able to connect with this beautiful chapter for yourself. And as you go into this meditation with me, some of you will hear answers, some of you will be more visual and you might get an image of something. Some of you will just have a feeling, and it doesn't matter. Don't force it. just allow whatever is going to come through to come through. And yeah, I think at the end of that, I will simply close us down. You can remain in a meditative state if you want more time. Beware of simply picking up habitual thinking versus hearing or seeing divine mind's messages. Okay, remember, habitual thinking tends to be same old, same old. You're looking for what comes through that's fresh and new. Don't worry if you don't hear or see anything. Go to bed this evening, ask the same question, see what comes to you in your dream state and when you wake up in the morning. Okay? Keep asking. All right, so close your eyes and just place your feet on the floor. Just take a couple of deep breaths in through the nose and out through the nose or the mouth. And you're just letting yourself come into this space. In through the nose and out through the nose or the mouth. Let yourself feel completely supported. You can even place your hands on your tummy and just feel as you breathe in, feel the tummy rising up, 2, 3, 4. And out, 2, 3, 4. So you're really grounded into the space, wherever you are. And now just see roots coming from your feet down through the ground, down into the underground, right down to a rock at the bottom of the earth, and wrap those roots around that rock. This rock emanates divine light. And this divine light moves up through the rock now, through the roots, through the underground, into the ground, through the floorboards, into your feet, and just witness the light moving up through the body, gently up, 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 right up to the top, right up to your head, and down the back of the head, down the back of the body, down through the back of the body, all the way down. You're completely covered in this beautiful elixir of golden light. And now just witness in your mind's eye a little white gate that you're going to step up to and open. And as you open the gate, you walk onto a golden path. This golden path, like the golden elixir of light, is supportive, grounding, has clear direction. So gently walk along it. And as you're walking along it, just set your intention. Dear God, dear Spirit, dear whatever or whoever, I'd like to create a new chapter. Show me how you'd have me start. Some of you will already know. And some of you will be receiving the answers. But just continue to walk along the golden path. And up ahead of you is what you would love your future to look like. So see it now. In front of you, you can see yourself in your future. How do you look? What are you doing? Where are you? What's the feeling you're living in more of the time? Who's with you? What's the location like? Rather than get into, I don't know, just admit in this moment what you'd love for yourself as you look into creating a new chapter. Remembering that everything that you don't want right now is fueling what you do want. That's how the system works. Now take that image and place it in your heart. So with your mind's eye, and if you want to use your hand, just place your hand on your heart and place that image that you've seen. And know that it is your heart's desire to create anew. And as you create space and you create connection and you create quiet, you'll be guided exactly what to do every step of the way. Your only job is to get out of the way, to listen deeply, to accept clearly the vision of you with a capital Y-O-U. Receive this and accept it now. And standing right where you are, just let yourself see the roots coming down through the feet, into the ground, into the underground, right down to a rock at the bottom of the earth. Wrap those roots around that rock. Grounded in the here and now. Committing to receiving the clarity and the guidance as you go along. Noticing the desires versus where you are, simply efforting or forcing. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose or the mouth. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose or the mouth. And one more time, in through the nose and out through the nose or the mouth. If you want to stay in this particular state and space, if you want to journal, if you want to continue your connection, do so. At this point, I will close the clinic. And thank you for being here. Lots of love, everybody.